guys, it's been quite a while. I am very tired. I didn't sleep very much last night. It was less sleeping and more trying to get everything done. My cat is really kind of sleepy too, and she just wants to cuddle with me. I read A Soul to Take by C.N. Bean, and it kind of takes place around Easter, which is kind of when I started reading it. So it kind of fit in kind of perfect a little bit. The beginning starts at Easter, the whole case lasts a couple of months, but it jumps right into the story. There's no, like, background. Usually books have, like, a background at the beginning to establish, like, a norm, and then they explain why whatever the book is about is abnormal, and that's why it's interesting, and that's why they wrote the book about it. But they had nothing about that. They just went, starting from the first word, she's at this new crime scene with weird, strange things going on, which was kind of a little hard. You kind of had to learn people's names and stuff on the fly. This woman, who is the, like, director or supervisor for this police division section, she gets called in because a boy is murdered and his body is laying next to this creek, and they have to figure out who murdered him, obviously. So she goes and visits the parents, well, the mother and then her boyfriend, and they're both skeezy, suspicious figures. Then another boy is murdered, and they were both altar boys, and they both had some issues with, like, I think he's a priest. Things get complicated and confusing. This book was written in the 90s, mid-90s, like 96, I believe. Yeah, the book was published in 1996, so sometime before then she wrote this book. And there are just a few things in the book that are a little weird for me, personally. There's this scene where they go to buy shoes, and they go to, like, the mall or whatever, and he finds this really nice pair of shoes that are like $100. And she's like, I'm not spending $100 on you. And I'm like, yeah, no, not on, like, an 11-year-old boy who's just gonna grow out of it in, like, less than a year. He keeps pestering her about these shoes, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna take you down to the, like, cheapo store and buy you a $20 pair of shoes. And then they compromise on this $60 pair of shoes. And I'm like, what? That $20 pair of shoes, seriously, I don't think my mom ever spent more than, like, $20 on my shoes until I started wearing, like, fancy shoes for, like, homecoming and prom and stuff like that. So I was just like, this woman is in the 90s. This woman is spending $60 on her 11-year-old son's tennis shoes, and she's a police officer. It's not like she makes that much money. There are a few instances where there's stuff like this happening, like they go to fancy restaurants and stuff on a whim. Oh, suspects. Okay, so the main suspects change as the story goes along, as the investigators get more information. Originally, you have the mother, because first of all, for me, she has a $10,000 insurance policy on her 11-year-old son. Just saying. The mother, Crystal, is always referred to as the mother. She's never referred to as, or Crystal. She's never referred to as mom or really a term of endearment at all throughout the entire book. But when they go to talk to her, she just seems irritated and irrationally defensive, and she gets upset over, like, these small little things. And then there's her boyfriend, who physically abuses her son and does drugs, and he's just an all-around bad person. Then there's this man named Scroggins. I think he's been charged with some form of sexual child something, and he's just a generally creepy guy. He follows kids and tries to talk to them and get them to go in his creepy van, and he's just not the kind of guy you want around your kids, but I can't remember exactly what he had done. Then there was the priest himself, Father Catalpa, I don't know how to say his name. He came from a church previously that kicked him out because of his perverse sexual nature with little boys. There were a few other people that were, like, minor suspects, but they didn't really, Their motives weren't really related to the actual kids. The author's writing style kind of got on my nerves. There are just a few things that personally I don't like. One of them being that there's dialogue without dialogue. It's dialogue without like quotations. So it's like, okay, it's like when someone says, she said she had, without saying she said, quotation marks. They say that she said this without putting it in quotation marks. One of my pet peeves, it's just a thing that I don't like, but it was kind of like the author took all of the things that irritate me about creative writing styles and threw it all in one book. That's a personal issue with me. It didn't detract from the story, it just detracted from my liking of the author. I also didn't like how much the main character Rita drinks. It's like borderline alcoholic. I understand that her job is very stressful. Like, she drinks in any situation, during the day, in the morning, when she's celebrating, when she's sad, when she's upset, when she sees her ex-husband, when her kid starts annoying her about wanting a puppy, when she's hanging out with anybody. I mean, she drinks and drives. It's bad. There are some of the books that I read that are technically adult that I think would be fine for young kids, and this is not one of them. 20 and up. Probably 21 and up book. There's not a lot of violence because we don't see violence apart from the very end of the book, which I'm not going to tell you about. We just see the aftermath and the body. I really liked the book. I did. The very end was a surprise. Again, recommended for people above 21. Probably a 3 out of 5 just because I had issues with the writing style. And a few minor things like the shoe store. Is a pretty good crime novel. I did like it. Watch for Evermore in the next couple of days, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.